You know, when you think about Zen, you might picture peaceful meditation gardens, right? But if you dig into the classic stories, you find something else entirely. Students looking for truth get met with shouts, slaps, or even a whack from a stick. So what on earth is going on here? Yeah, that line, or something just like it, pops up over and over again in the records of masters like Linji. A monk asks a question, he gives an answer, sometimes he just breathes the wrong way, and boom, he gets hit. It's pretty jarring, honestly, and it makes you wonder. And that's the big question, right? Why would these enlightened teachers, people who are supposed to be beyond ego and anger, resort to what looks a whole lot like violence? Is this just madness? Or is there a very specific and very sharp method behind it all? To really figure this out, we have to stop seeing these actions as just random outbursts. Think of them more like a toolkit. According to the classic texts, each tool, each shocking action, had a very particular job. Let's break down the three main ones. Okay, first up, you've got the famous Zen shout, the katsu. This isn't about being angry. It's a sudden burst of sound, and it's designed to do one thing, to literally jolt a student right out of their own head, to cut through that endless loop of thoughts and analysis that we all have running. Then, of course, there's the stick, or maybe a quick slap. This was all about breaking a student's attachment. An attachment to what? To anything. Maybe it was a really clever answer they were proud of, or a philosophical idea they were clinging to. It's a physical shock meant to shatter a mental obsession. And the third tool, well, this one is designed to just completely break your brain. It's pure paradox. The records say Linji would hit one monk for bowing to him, and then turn right around and hit another monk for not bowing. The goal? To totally short-circuit your logical mind. If bowing is wrong and not bowing is wrong, your brain has to give up and find another way to see things. All right, so we've got the shout, the stick, and the paradox. Now let's see these things in action in one of the most famous stories of all, an encounter between Linji, back when he was a student, and his own very intimidating master, Huangbo. So the story kicks off in the monastery kitchen. The headmaster, Huangbo, strolls in and asks the monk in charge some totally normal questions. What are you doing? Sifting rice. How much? 2.5 bushels. Perfectly reasonable answers. But Huangbo's response is anything but. He strikes the monk and just walks out. So you can imagine the kitchen monk is totally bewildered. He goes and tells Linji what happened. But where most people might see a reason to lay low, Linji sees an opportunity. He basically says, "Don't worry, I'll go test this old man for you." And he marches off to confront his own master. And this is where things get really wild. Linji goes up to Huangbo and calls him out on his teaching. Huangbo gives him some cryptic answer about eating tomorrow, but Linji isn't playing that game. He fires back. Why talk about tomorrow? Eat it right now. And then he does the absolutely unthinkable. He slaps his own master. But here's the kicker, right? Huangbo's reaction. He isn't angry. He's thrilled. He basically roars with approval. He sees Linji's direct, fearless move not as an insult, but as proof of real understanding. Linji wasn't stuck in his head thinking about concepts. He acted directly. He had the guts to pull the tiger's whiskers. Okay, so what is the point of all this? The shouting, the hitting, this whole pulling the tiger's whiskers business? It's all about forcing a massive shift in how you see the world. In Zen, there's a huge difference between knowing about something and actually knowing it. You can read 1,000 books about swimming. That's just intellectual knowledge. The master slap is like someone suddenly pushing you into the pool. It yanks you out of theory and drops you right into the cold shock of direct experience. There's this brilliant quote from the text that just nails it, and it actually came from a government official who was grilling Linji. The idea is that even the most precious things, sacred teachings, correct ideas, this gold dust, can actually blind you if they get in your eyes and stop you from seeing reality for yourself. All right, I get it. A master hits a student, the student has a breakthrough, it's a great story. But what does any of this have to do with us, right here, right now? See, the whole point of these shock tactics is to trigger what's called satori, or a moment of awakening. This isn't some slow, gradual learning process. The texts describe it as a sudden breakthrough. It's the moment the cage of your own thinking just shatters, and you finally experience the world directly, without a filter. And this final story, it shows you the whole sequence, step by step. A student comes up with a huge question, but instead of a lecture, Linji grabs him, hits him, and shoves him away. The student is just standing there, stunned. His logical mind has completely stalled out. And then another monk whispers a simple prompt, "Why don't you bow?" And as the student starts that simple physical act of bowing, that's when it hits him. Total enlightenment. The shock cleared the path, and a simple action opened the door.
So in the end, this isn't about chaos. It's not random violence. You could almost call it a kind of spiritual surgery. It's extreme for sure, but the madness is actually a very precise method, designed to cut away the mind's addiction to its own patterns. And the goal isn't more confusion. It's a radical, simple kind of clarity.
And that really leaves us with a pretty big question to think about, doesn't it? These stories might feel ancient and strange, but the core idea is timeless. How often in our own lives do our well-reasoned arguments, our correct opinions, and our logical certainties stop being useful tools and start becoming the very bars of our own cage?